Oh, hello everybody, and thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction, and thank you very much for the invitation. I have really and greatly enjoyed the previous presentations and the way that the whole kind of a scene has been explained in terms of the need for carbon removals, but also kind of the difficulties from the technology side, and also the need actually to create policy and to create regulation actually to make this a possible and workable solution. So in Microsoft, we are really invested in this. We have made a kind of a very ambitious set of commitments in terms of sustainability. We are aiming to be completely carbon negative by 2030, and not only that, but water positive, and to protect ecosystems at the same time. And carbon removal is really part and one of the key ingredients actually of our strategy to achieve this. So what I wanted to talk to you today about is an exercise that we have done as a kind of a corporate purchase of carbon removal. And if I could go to the next slide, please. So the reason for this, and the reason that is so important to us, is explained in this graph that you can see here. So if you look at the dashed line, what it's telling you is kind of the carbon emissions that we have had until now, and you see there an inflection point, which then starts just taking things downward, which is when we have started all of our kind of strong commitments to become carbon negative by 2030. And this is coming from mainly two things. So on the one hand, we are really kind of eliminating all of kind of the electricity related emissions by pretty much middle of the decade. And we are also reducing all of our supply chain and products emissions. And the problem with this is harder actually to reduce all of the emissions for our supply chain. And we expect to have that reduced by half by 2030. And that means that we really need to do removals. And in terms of the amount of removals, that means that we need to remove around 6 million tons per year from 2030. And you have to keep in mind as well that we want to remove all of the carbon emissions that we have made historically since the company was created in 1975. So that means that we really need to bring kind of removals to essentially be an effective solution. So because of this, we did this exercise as a corporate purchase of carbon removal. And if I could go to the next slide, please. So we did this last year, and we published all of the results from this earlier on this year. And this is an important thing for us. So we really decided to be completely transparent about everything that we are doing and to publish all of our experiences, because we fully recognize that this is a very kind of emerging area, and we really wanted to be able to work with other people and to explain what we have learned and the difficulties that we have found while doing this. So the links are there on the right-hand side of this slide, and you can access the carbon removal paper. And I should thank my colleague Liz Wilmot and also Lucas Jopa, our Chief Environmental Officer, for all of the effort and work that they have put to make this happen. So we received a large number of proposals, over 180 projects in a large number of countries, over 40 countries. And in total, this was accounting for around 55 million tons. But of these, only 2 million tons actually met our prerequisites. And I will talk a little bit about our prerequisites in a second. And we ended buying around kind of 1.3 million tons from 15 organizations. And there are some lessons from this. And the first lesson, of course, is that the demand is really kind of bigger than the supply that we have currently of high quality kind of options for carbon removal. One of the issues for us, and this generated a lot of work for ourselves, was this assessment of the proposals. And this has been highlighted by previous speakers, that because currently we don't have a full set of standards and a kind of a regulatory framework in terms of how we deal with this, we really had to take it on board in-house on how we assess this. We really put a lot of effort actually into assessing the durability of the projects and how we could guarantee that the carbon that we are removing really stays out of the atmosphere. So we really be working in this kind of approach that we want, if we pay for 1 ton of carbon to be removed, we really want that kind of ton of carbon to be removed. This means that kind of 99% of the total volume that we bought was actually coming from nature-based solutions, which are in the kind of greater scheme of things short term, so they are normally around kind of less than 100 years. And 1% of the solutions that we bought were for kind of longer term solutions, kind of engineer or technical solutions, which can be stored for over 1,000 years. And we put investment in both because we really want to incentivize the technologies, but also we want to kind of have experience, as we were saying, in the whole kind of process of regulating and stimulating a market that we believe needs to be created. So a few kind of key lessons that we have learned from this. So we definitely cannot meet our carbon negative commitments without carbon removal. So we are really committed to it. Accounting is a vital component that currently is missing, and it's not easy to measure all of the kind of capture of carbon. Is not easy to account. The standards are different and different people do it in different ways. So we really welcome, and we are working with the European Commission to try to raise kind of the standards and to create something that really has kind of applicability and build trust across the whole of Europe. Additionality, durability, leakage are crucial criteria. And again, it comes back to a standard. So currently there are different standards to deal with this, and that makes the whole kind of process difficult. And it means that people like us that goes into one of these kind of big corporate purchases, and this is the biggest corporate purchase that has happened in history, mean that we need to put a lot of work to be able to assess these criteria. And this leads to the next lesson learned, which is that we, corporations and private organizations, there is not yet kind of an easy way that we can really source affordable and high integrity carbon removal. So that's one of the reasons for us to really go into this and be one of the players that stimulate and facilitates that this kind of market emerges, and we can bring together all of the developments from technology to policy, etc. And we fully recognize that we cannot do this alone, and this is why we are working with other buyers, we are working with kind of regulators, we are working with entrepreneurs and startups to really accelerate this market development. And I think it was Sabine that very nicely kind of exposed how if we were just to do this and compare it with previous technologies, we would expect this to happen or emerge as a fully fledged market by the 2060s, and that would be too late. So we really want to be able to accelerate this. So if I could have the next slide, please. So these are the projects that we have selected in the first year, and I wanted to highlight two things mainly. So the first one is, as I have mentioned, that 99% of the solutions are nature-based solutions because these are technologies that are better understood and more available, and they have a lower price of around kind of $15 per ton. And a few of the solutions are kind of technology solutions, and some of them are mentioned here in terms of the direct air capture or BECS as well. And this is only kind of 1% at the moment, but as I say, we really want to stimulate this and facilitate that we have a kind of a portfolio that includes all type of solutions. I think it's also worth noticing actually that quite a lot of the solutions like the direct air capture or the biochar are in Europe. So again, that's another reason for Europe to take kind of a leading role in terms of the policy and regulation, so we can really create the standards that make it easier kind of to have this emergence of the market. And that's something that Anders was mentioning, that we really need to establish this kind of baseline of the policy and the regulatory frameworks. And it's a point that Yvonne was also mentioning, and we are working with the Commission to make sure that we can accelerate this process. So could I have next slide, please? So this is a summary of the challenges and opportunities that we have found, and it's divided in these two axes of nature-based solution and technical or engineered solutions. And the main kind of a challenge, if you want, with the nature-based solutions is the the accounting is difficult, and to guarantee the integrity of the project and to protect against physical risks like fire, drought, or illegal logging, for example, is not a trivial matter. And this also means that one has to integrate, for example, climate risk and the use of kind of seasonal and decadal forecasting to be able to change or account for what is the kind of the level of change in risk and the climate variability and change. On the other hand, the technology and engineer solutions, the current challenges are actually the high cost. So it's kind of an order of magnitude more expensive than the nature-based solutions. And currently we have a very limited scale in terms of the availability of supply. In terms of opportunities for nature-based solutions, definitely the standards, we have a huge opportunity. It has been mentioned again for agriculture and forestry, and the opportunity that we have to link things like the common agriculture policy and other instruments like farm to fork policies to really improve these standards, but also to bring kind of new improvements in terms of the risk management and the verification. So again, monitoring has been mentioned by some of the previous speakers, and this is a critical area. We really need to be able to measure and understand what is happening so we can improve the situation. And also the nature-based solution has clear co-benefits, so they can not only protect the environment, but also bring the communities around. In terms of the technology and engineer solutions, there is a huge opportunity in terms of research and development and the creation of infrastructure, but also from the financial side in terms of the financing mechanisms and the links with insurance. So we are really kind of working and very happy to kind of engage with a growing kind of community of stakeholders so we can accelerate this. And this includes not only kind of the project developers and the finance world, but also NGOs, academia, the corporate buyers, the policymakers, and this is a very, very kind of important thing for us. So this is all I wanted to tell you today, and I will just stop in the next slide, and I will be very happy to take questions later on. Thank you very much.